Colossal swords, probably one of the easiest weapon classes to use. Like, I swear there's barely any bad colossal sword in the game. Aside from Consort Radahn's swords, we don't talk about those. However, all these colossal swords get something unique about them, and that's what I love most. Well, most of them at least. However, the most unique one, I'd say, is actually the Fire Knight Greatsword. It's an infusible greatsword, yes. However, it gets split fire damage, even though the fire damage is very, very low. It also gets the light attacks of the Godslayer sword, and the poking attacks of the Zweihander, one of the best charge attacks in the entire game. While this weapon can be an annoying farm, it's definitely worth it, because this weapon is absolutely powerful. Now, first of all, this was one of the funnest runs I have ever done, mainly because of just how versatile this weapon is. It being infusible already makes it versatile, but with its light attacks and its charge attacks, it really makes for a fun playthrough. Even if you're running it with Cragblade, everything about this weapon is just fun. Easily the funnest colossal sword in the entire game, even if it isn't the best. It having split fire damage obviously makes it best for a flame infusion, but also is probably the best sword for a keen infusion, because this dex scaling is actually really, really good. Like, its dex scaling is really good and is comparable to its strength scaling, having a B in both if you infuse it with a keen infusion, which is really good because no other colossal sword gets this same treatment. Having this strong of a scaling in both stats, which honestly feels higher than a B, means that the weapon is going to be really fast and really strong. It is obviously the fastest colossal sword in the game, but you having an equal scaling in dex and strength is so undeniably useful, it's crazy. Even if a quality build is going to be outclassed by a bunch of different builds, having this strong of a scaling in both is still really good. It even retains a faith scaling. Now, yes, it's a D scaling, but this weapon already has such minimal fire damage that you're not really going to notice it, especially since the fire damage is still there, so you can still amp it with fire. Yeah, that was a sentence. It also is a colossal sword, so it's going to have amazing synergy with these guard counter builds, but also with these spear type builds. And when I say spear type builds, I mainly mean pierce. Since it has the Zweihander's charge attack, it's going to be doing a poke, which does pierce damage. And trust me, this pierce damage is really strong at points. Now, of course, here's the big question. Does it compare to the other two colossal swords, the Guts Greatsword and the Zweihander? Me personally, I'd say no. And here's why. The Zweihander you can get at basically the beginning of the game for only 1,800 runes. You don't have to do anything special for it. Same with the Guts Greatsword. However, the Guts Greatsword just gets such high damage that it easily outclasses most of the colossal swords. Yeah, it's no question that the Guts Greatsword is better. Now, yes, it doesn't get that poke attack and it gets this horizontal swipe, but you're not really going to be doing charge attacks with the Guts Greatsword anyway. You're either going to be going for a Lion Claw build, a Cragblade build, or a Guard Counter build, or two of them in one, which is just going to be far better than the Fire Knight Greatsword. And with the Zweihander, it's more debatable. However, the Zweihander's just higher damage makes it more entertaining for me, especially since you don't have to farm for it, all you have to do is buy it, which easily takes it above for me. And also, it's outclassed by the Godslayer Greatsword, but almost everything in the game is. Not only is it obviously the coolest looking weapon in the game, like, come on, that's no debate. With the Godslayer Greatsword having the same light attacks, maybe a worse charge attack, but having one of the best skills in the game, such a good skill that I just basically consider it a far better Malekith's Black Blade skill that you can get at the beginning of the game. This weapon sets such a high standard, it's crazy. So I'm not really going to be comparing the Fire Knight Greatsword to this. However, yeah, the Godslayer Greatsword is just broken. You should try out the Fire Knight Greatsword. It's a really good weapon, it's really fun, and not to mention, it does do a lot of damage. If you would like to know what I would personally put on this sword, I either put the Flame Spear skill or the Cragblade skill. Cragblade is just the best Dash of War in the entire game. There's nothing that really outclasses it. But the Flame Spear is especially good on this weapon. Not only does it go far, but it also coats the weapon in fire. And you know what that means? It's going to amp the fire damage of this sword because it has innate fire damage. I also forgot to mention this, but there are two armor sets that you can use to amp the sword. Either Letta's armor or the Fire Knight armor. I would personally go for Letta's armor though, and here's why. Letta's armor amps the rolling attacks, ducking attacks, etc., which this weapon has an amazing roll attack as it goes into that poke, which is really just a faster yet weaker version of its charged skill. That is amazing. And the Fire Knight armor only really amps it if you have Flame Spear on it. So me personally, I would go with Letta's armor all day long. Here's the armor and the talismans and the level I used for this run. Now, obviously, you can switch up the talismans, you can switch up the armor even if you want. But yeah, this is what I ran with. And that's the video. Tell me what you guys thought in the comments below. The next weapon I will be reviewing is the Poisonous Fang. And I am so sorry that I'm not covering the Zweihander next. It was I thought everyone voted the Poisonous Fang until I actually looked, and then it was the Zweihander. So I'm sorry. I'll try to get the Zweihander done as soon as possible. But yeah, see you guys.